Welcome back. So far, I have discussed about the instantaneous power, average power, and RMS value of current and voltage. In today's class, I am going to explore some more terminology that is about the apparent power, power factor, as well as complex power. So let us start with above two, that is apparent power and power factor. Historically, the introduction of the concepts of apparent power and power factor can be traced to the electrical power industry, where large amount of electrical energy must be transformed from one point to another point. The efficiency with which this transfer is effected is related directly to the cost of electrical energy, which is eventually paid by consumer. If you see that energy carefully, that is affected by these terminology, that is called apparent power and power factor. So let us our discussion about these two. So in the previous class we saw that we saw that if the voltage and current at the terminals of a circuit, so here I am going to consider AC circuit. So suppose that is Vt equal to Vm. Vm is the maximum amplitude cos omega t plus theta v, and suppose It, that is defined like Im cos omega t plus theta I, due to linearity, whatever form of the wave, same form is going to appear on the response also. So this is somehow forcing function Vt, and It is the response of any linear network. So frequency remains the same, just magnitude and phase angle is different. We have already discussed about this. So in phasor form I can also rewrite like this. So or in phasor for V I can define like Vm and theta v. I am going to collect the magnitude and phase angle, and I have I equal to Im and phase angle theta I, and I can also write the average power like this. So the average power is P equal to half Vm Im cos theta v by theta I. We have already seen that instantaneous power is function of time, but average power is not the function of time. that is just the multiplication of the magnitude of the voltage and current and cos of the angle between voltage or phase angle between voltage and current. So I have recalled the same expression. So I can also define same quantity in terms of RMS value. So in order to define that, in previous class we have seen that I am going to write like this: cos theta v minus theta I, and finally this quantity Vm by root 2 I have defined as a Vrms, and Im by root 2 by Irms, and cos theta v minus theta I. So where Vrms by Vm by root 2 I have defined like this, and Irms from the definition of previous class I am writing. And I can also rewrite power like this. So P equal to S cos theta v minus theta I. So basically we have added new term to the equation, and that new term is S, and I have defined S as a Vrms and Irms. So now you can see here in above expression that average power is basically multiplication of Vrms, Irms and cos theta v minus theta I. So product of Vrms and Irms, I am going to coin new definition. So that definition is called apparent power. Apparent power. So we have defined apparent power like this: the apparent power it is going to measure in volt ampere is the product of the RMS values of voltage and current. So you can see here that in case of resistive network, if you remember that if I have some resistance like this, suppose that I have certain kind of resistance R, and if I know the voltage across this is V and current path going through this is I, then at that time we are writing power that is nothing but V into I. So here you can see that same expression that is going to appear in case of apparent power. So the apparent power is so called because it seems appear that power should be the voltage current product by analogy with the DC resistive circuit. So apparent power is analogous to this particular concept. So just you can write. So somehow you can see that in whole DC discussion or AC discussion, what we have found, first we have explored everything about DC, and same kind of things we are searching in the case of AC network. So somehow we are generalizing, because after putting omega equal to 0, we again return back to the DC. Due to that reason, somehow you can interpret AC as the generalization of the DC. So this is the basically you can write this as a note. So I am going to write same kind of things as a remark. In this way you are able to appreciate the name of apparent power. So the apparent power is so called because it seems apparent that the power should be the voltage current product by analogy with DC resistive circuit, whatever I have drawn above, DC resistive circuits. And one more important point, that this apparent power is measured like this. It is measured in volt ampere, because it is direct product of volt means voltage and current, or we are writing VA to distinguish it from the average or real power which is measured in watts. So whenever you are seeing that unit is VA, then it means that we are talking about the apparent power, and most of time in order to denote the average or real power we are using this kind of measurement. So we are always specifying measurement in the watts. So now let us try to see the second term, because whenever I have defined average power, you can see here again, come back to the previous expression, average power P is S cos theta V minus theta I. So I have defined S as a new terminology, and that is nothing but apparent power. Again I have some another term, that is cos theta V minus theta I. So this is called the power factor. So now let us now we are going to write about the second thing, that is nothing but, so in form of note you can write, and later I will define this. So the factor, and this factor is nothing but factor of cos theta V minus theta I is called the power factor, and we are denoting this as a PF. So let us try to see the dimension of power factor. So basically power factor is nothing but, I can also define power factor like this. Power factor is the ratio of the average power by apparent power. So that is ratio of two powers, and due to that reason this is dimensionless quantity. So this is dimensionless quantity. And theta V minus theta I, people are telling that as a power factor angle, because it is the angle whose cosine is the power factor. So also you can write this, because sometimes people are repeatedly using this kind of concept. So now I have another definition, that is called power factor angle. So the angle theta V minus theta I is called the power factor angle, because it is the angle whose cosine is the power factor. So generally whenever people are seeing some new thing, they are giving some kind of a specific name, such that later they can use that name in order to represent that quantity. So again there is no need to recall the definition. So due to that reason people are coining new definition whenever they encounter lot of new quantities. So one can also interpret power factor angle as the angle of load impedance if V is the voltage across load and I is the current through it. So you can also interpret power factor angle like this. So I am going to draw one diagram to illustrate the power factor angle. So suppose that you have certain impedance. So I am representing impedance like this, that is by Z, and suppose the voltage, I am using this kind of sign convention. So this terminal is positive, this kind of negative, and in case of AC you can see that these are sometimes this is negative, this is positive, this is positive, this is negative. So that is V, and current through it is I. So angle of the load impedance, if you see the angle of the load impedance, so that Z, I am defining Z, that is nothing but Vi, because we have already seen that here in case of AC circuit, if we represent everything in terms of phasor or frequency domain, then I can apply Ohm's law. Due to that reason I have written like this, and after that Vm, this is theta V by Im, and this is nothing but theta I. So I can also write Vm by Im and angle theta V minus theta I. And I can similarly, I can also write like this. So alternate form you can write. So I can also write in alternatively. I know the Vrms, that is V by root 2. So that is somehow Vrms theta V, and similarly one can also define Irms, that is I by root 2. So Irms theta I. So now if you express the impedance again, so that is Z equal to V by I, that is equal to V RMS and IRMS. So that is nothing but V RMS and IRMS, and after that this is theta V minus theta I. So even if you are expressing in terms of RMS value, then again this impedance, because impedance is the property of any circuit, due to that reason that is going to remain the same. So now I am going to give the proper definition of the power factor. So let us define this quantity, that is called power factor. So definition is like this: power factor, and the power factor is the cosine of the phase difference between voltage and current. It is also the cosine of the angle of the load impedance. So by seeing load impedance, it is possible to calculate the power factor also, because that is cosine of the angle of the load impedance. So in both way one can do this calculation. So here you can see that power factor may be seen as the factor by which the apparent power must be multiplied to obtain the real power or average power. Because what we have done, we have defined the average power, that is average power, and we are representing that as a P, that is nothing but equal to apparent power and multiplied by power factor. So you can see that one more important quantity here, that value of this quantity means power factor, that is cosine of the angle. So range, if you see the range of this, that is from 0 to unity to unity. So if you see the resistive load, so in case of purely resistive load, so let us try to write that. If I have purely resistive load, and in case of purely resistive load, we have already seen that voltage and current are in phase. So due to that reason, I can write theta v minus theta I, that is equal to 0, and which implies that power factor equal to 1. So in case of purely resistive load, apparent power is exactly equal to the average power. So I can also write that apparent power is exactly equal to the average power, or sometimes people are also telling real power. So this is average power. For a purely reactive load, means suppose that if I have capacitor or inductor or combination of that, so in case of for a purely reactive load, and in this case we have already seen that angle between voltage and current, that is plus minus 90 degree, and which implies that power factor equal to 0. So in this case, average power equal to 0. So because average power is the multiplication of apparent power plus power factor, so I can conclude that average power equal to 0. So here what we have observed, that either we have, when we have purely resistive load, at that time apparent power equal to average power. In case of purely reactive load, we have average power equal to 0. So now I have two extreme value. In one extreme value, power factor equal to unity, another extreme value, power factor equal to 0. And if you see the values between two extreme cases, then we define power factor as a leading or lagging. So let us define these two quantity. So I am going to talk about the leading or lagging power factor, so by PF. So basically leading power factor means that current leads voltage, which implies a capacitive load. We have already seen this kind of things during the discussion of capacitive circuit. And similarly, lagging power factor means that current lags voltage, and this implying an inductive load. So basically between these two extreme condition, either I have capacitive load, or I can interpret that as a inductive load based on the leading power factor or lagging power factor. And it is possible to show that power factor affects the electricity bill whatever consumer pay that electric utility companies. So we are going to see these kind of concept, how basically the power factor plays a important role during the calculation of the electricity bill in the next part of this course. So now let us come to the second important quantity, that is about the complex power. So till now what we have observed that in order to represent the average power, I have coined two different terminology. So first terminology is inspired from the DC resistive network, that is called apparent power, and second term is the cosine of the angle, that is called power factor. And based on the power factor, we have defined the load now. So capacitive load means I have leading power factor, and inductive load means I have lagging power factor. So even if I have some combination of capacitor or inductor, and if you just observe that you have some kind of power factor where current lead the voltage, then overall load I am going to interpret as a capacitive load. And similarly, if current lags the voltage or effective current lags the effective voltage, then we are going to interpret that load as a inductive load. In this way, people are defining resistive load, capacitive load or inductive load by seeing the power factors. And we know that power factor can be calculated in two different way. So if I know the phase difference between voltage and current, then I will take the cosine of phase voltage between theta v and theta I, or by just seeing impedance also I can calculate the power factor. Now let us try to come to the next part of this discussion, that is related to the complex power. So now I am going to talk about the complex power. From the name one can guess that I am going to talk about some kind of power which contain the real power as well as some kind of imaginary power. So actually what happens that power engineers have coined several different terminology. You can see that from the starting point I have defined instantaneous power, average power. After that, today's class I have defined the apparent power. So still these whole terminology are scattered here and there. So due to that reason, they try to somehow make all terminology consistent, and in order to do that, they have coined one new terminology that is called complex power. And in current scenario, current power is important in power analysis because it contains all the information pertaining to the power absorbed by a given load. So let us write this thing as a remark. So complex power is important in power analysis because it contains all the information pertaining to the power absorbed by a given load. So let us try to see what is meaning of the complex power, how to define this. So again, start with the one AC circuit. So suppose that I have some AC circuit. So I am going to take different color. So here suppose that I have some load. So I have load equal to Z, and after that some current is going to enter inside this load, and so I have two terminal. And suppose again some sign convention where for some time moment I have this kind of situation. This is V and current flowing through, this is I. So here I am assuming that whatever load I have considered, that is also people are sometimes also telling that AC load, and AC load is nothing but I am assuming that I have some kind of AC excitation source and I have certain kind of AC current. So I can write complex power absorbed by AC load, that is product of the voltage and the complex conjugate of the current. So first you can represent voltage V in form of phasor. So that is nothing but Vm theta V, and I is again Im theta I, and this is basically, we know that in phasor equivalent I have certain voltage Vt in time domain, then we are converting like this. Similarly I have current It in time domain, then I am going to convert like this. So this is the phasor representation, and Vt is the time domain representation of some quantity, or more explicitly you can write Vt equal to Vm cos theta V omega t plus theta V, and It equal to Im cos omega t plus theta I. So I am not going to write that. So now let us define the new terminology that I have coined. So the complex power that I am denoting as absorbed by the AC load is the product of the voltage and the complex conjugate of the current. And one can understand why I have taken complex conjugate of current, because we have already seen that power, whenever I am defining average power, that is multiplication of the apparent power and cosine of theta v minus theta I. So in order to create that term theta v minus theta I have multiply the voltage in phasor domain, and complex conjugate of the current. So obviously, if I will take complex conjugate, then minus theta I comes into picture, and after taking product of V and I am able to again get same kind of quantity. So basically, in form of more general form, I can define this whole quantity like this. I have S, and this S is half V and I, where V and I in phasor domain, and one can also write this S in terms of RMS value. So in terms of the RMS value, I can again define S like VRMS, and again complex conjugate, that is represented by a star, of IRMS, and I have to now again I am telling that where VRMS is V by root 2, and this is VRMS theta V, and similarly I can also define IRMS, that is I by root 2. So I will see the magnitude and of this, so IRMS and theta I. So in this way also I can define the complex power. And if I can further simplify, then one can also get this kind of expression. S is VRMS, IRMS, and after that cos theta V minus theta I, and plus J VRMS, IRMS, sin theta V minus theta I, provided if I write like this VRMS, IRMS and theta V minus theta I, then I can write like this. So these two expressions are exactly equivalent, and from the above expression, whatever I have written here, now I can see that magnitude of complex power is nothing but the apparent power, and hence we can measure complex power in volt ampere. So let us note this point, that the magnitude of the complex power is the apparent power, and we have, in order to make difference between apparent power and average power, we are using different quantity to denote the measured value of the apparent power. We have already seen this kind of things in the first part of today's lecture. So the complex power is measured in also in the same unit, that is volt amperes, same as the apparent power. So amperes, so this is nothing but volt ampere. So most of time we have to become very careful with respect to the unit. So average power is measured in watts. However, apparent power and complex power we are going to measure using this unit, that is volt amperes. Also, from complex power we can notice that angle of complex power is the power factor angle. So you can see that from complex notion I can easily identify the apparent power as well as the power factor angle. So let us write this point also. So also we notice that the angle of the complex power is the power factor angle. So once I will define the complex power, that is the multiplication or product of the phasors, means voltage phasor as well as current phasor, and after that we have to collect the magnitude, that is the apparent power, and whatever angle that is comes into picture, that is nothing but power factor angle. So now I can also express the complex power in terms of load impedance. So I can also write like this. So next I am going to write complex power in terms of the load impedance So one can see from the above circuit that Z, again in frequency domain I can apply the Ohm's law. So that is exactly equal to Vrms and Irms, and I can also write Vrms and Irms, and somehow I am making some kind of difference. So this is bold quantity, and after that this is just as usual quantity. So theta I. Now you can see that I can also write Vrms, that is equal to Z into Irms from the above expression. And after replacing this into the complex power, I can further write complex power S is Irms square and Z. So, and that is also equal to Vrms square by Z star, and that is equal to Vrms and Irms star, like this. So in this way I can also define complex power in terms of the impedance. And what we have seen that impedance has two parts. So let us discuss more that since impedance Z contain the real part as well as the imaginary part. So real part is resistance and imaginary part is called reactance. So basically S is Irms square. After that is R plus Jx. So now two different terms is going to appear. One is P and another is Q. So now I am going to define like this. P is nothing but that is the real part of S, and that is Irms into R, and Q are the imaginary part. So I am denoting Im, imaginary part of the S or complex power, that is the Irms square into this quantity, that is X. So this is that quantity X. So in this way I have collected the P and Q, and here now you try to see that P is the average, or also I can tell as a real power, and it depends on the load resistance R, and Q depends on the load reactance X and also called a reactive power. So let us try to define this whole complex power in terms of the real power and the reactive power. So now I am going to coin two different or distinguish two different power from the complex power. So our remark is like this: P is the average, or most of time average power we are also telling as a real power, and it depends on the loads resistance R, and similarly, so I have one point like this. Second point of this remark is like this: Q, which is the imaginary part of the complex power, depends on the load's reactance X and is called the reactive power. So from the above expression, I can also write like this, because you can see that S has two components. So if I collect the real part, then I have quantity that is P like this, that is VRMS, IRMS, and cos theta V minus theta I, and Q is now nothing but, I can also write like this, IRMS and sin theta V minus theta I, because what we have seen that S I can represent like VRMS, IRMS, theta. So I will write again, then you are able to understand it very clearly. Theta V minus theta I. So this is our complex number. So from that I am going to collect this real part, that is like this, and whatever imaginary part that is going to looks like this. So now let us try to come to the more consequence of this result. So this particular quantity is the complex power. Now try to interpret this P. So I have already seen that P is nothing but the real power or average power. So the real power P is the average power in watt delivered to a load, and it is only the useful power. And if you see that power, it is the actual power which is going to dissipated by the load, and interpretation of the another part, that is imaginary part, that is Q, that the reactive power and is a measure of the energy exchange between the source and the reactive part of the load. And why I am telling that this is just an exchange, because that power is not going to dissipate. Due to that reason we are telling that is only the exchange between the source and the reactive part of the load. So if so, interpretation of this, so I can also write like this. So you can write in form of remark, that is also okay. So P is the actual power dissipated by the load, and interpretation of the another part that is called the reactive power. So reactive power Q is a measure of the energy exchange between the source and the reactive load. Why I am only telling reactive load? Because in order to define Q, I have taken help of the reactive part of the load. Due to that reason, we are interpreting like this of the load, and again, in order to distinguish this actual power and reactive power, we are going to coin another measuring unit for the reactive part of the power. So the unit of Q is the volt ampere reactive, and we are denoting that like a VAR to distinguish it from the real power and or average power, you can tell. And we know that unit of the average power is in watt. Unit is the watt. So this kind of things we are just putting in order to distinguish between the real power with the reactive power, because what we have observed that really we are just using the real power to our in order to operate our system. Reactive power is just the exchange of energy between source and reactive part of the load. So we also know that energy storage element, that is capacitor or inductor, that is neither dissipate nor supply any power, but just exchange the power back and forth with the rest of the network. In the same way, the reactive power is being transferred back and forth between the load and the source, and it represents a lossless interchange between the load and the source. So somehow we are interpreting this reactive power as the lossless interchange between the load and source, same like the storage element, that is capacitor and inductor in the case of the DC circuit. So same kind of interpretation we have provided here. And one can also notice like this. So notice that in first case Q equal to 0. So if reactive power is 0, then I have this kind of load that is called resistive load, and I have unity power factor. We have already seen in the first part of this lecture. After that, similarly, I can tell that if Q is less than 0, then I have capacitive load, and I have leading power factor, and similarly Q greater than 0. So I have overall load that is defined like a inductive loads, and here I have lagging power factor, and now you are become very much comfortable with leading and lagging, that is define the phase angle between current and voltage. So now let us try to give the concrete definition of the complex power. So now I am going to summarize everything using this definition of complex power. So complex power, and we have already seen that magnitude of complex power is the apparent power. So I am going to measure with using the same unit, volt ampere is the product of the RMS voltage phasor and complex conjugate of the RMS current phasor as a complex quantity. So it is as a complex quantity, its real part is the real power or average power, and its imaginary part is reactive power. So now I can define the everything, because we have shown that complex power contain the all relevant power information in a given load. So let us try to again see this point. So what I am going to tell now, the following, that is again a summary. So I have first important quantity, that is nothing but complex power, and that I have denoted like P plus JQ. Now I am going in backward manner. So VR RMS, I RMS, and conjugate of this. So that is the magnitude of VRMS and IRMS, and theta V minus theta I can also write like this. And from here I can also observe that I have apparent power, that is the magnitude of this. So basically whenever we are telling apparent power, that at that time we are representing by a small s, and this is by capital S. So magnitude of the complex number, and that is the VRMS and IRMS magnitude. So I can also write that the real power plus the reactive power, and again from the complex power I can also define the real power or average power. So that is nothing but the P, that is real part of the S, and that is equal to S cos theta V minus theta I, where a small s denotes the apparent power. And after that, now I have another terminology, that is about the reactive power, and that reactive power Q is the imaginary part of this complex power, and that is again S, this is apparent power, multiplied with the sine of theta V minus theta I, and lastly I have the power factor. So I have power factor, and that is the ratio of the P, that is the real power, and the apparent power. So that is cos theta V minus theta I. So you can see that if I know the complex power, then I am able to extract the all relevant power information in a given load. Due to that reason, people have people has coined the notion of the complex power, and one can also represent this power in geometrical way. It means that using some kind of geometrical shape I can define these powers, and that is known as a power triangle. So let us write this kind of things as a remark. So a remark is like this. It is a standard practice to represent S, that is complex power, P, that is real power, and Q, that is reactive power, in the form of a triangle. Due to that reason I am telling that as a geometrical shape, and this triangle has a special name that is known as the power triangle, because that triangle is now going to represent the powers, all possible power. So power triangle. So let us draw the power triangle, and similarly if you see the impedance, then also one can see that form another triangle that is called impedance triangle. So let us first draw the power triangle, and after that I will move to the impedance triangle. So what we are telling that I have one side as a complex power, so and after that I have two different sides. So I have this angle is equal to theta. So S can be projected in using two different sides. So this side is Q, because this is equal to S cos theta, and this is equal to S sin theta. Due to that reason I have represented like this, and this is called, so this figure called as a power triangle. So basically this is exactly similar to this power triangle is also similar to the impedance triangle. So I am going to write this. So power triangle is similar to the impedance triangle. Again I am going to represent impedance geometrically using three sides of the triangle. So and this impedance triangle showing the relationship between so let us write it again. So I have to select the eraser I have done. Okay, so basically I have one relationship, that is the relationship between Z, that is the impedance, R, that is called resistance, and X is the reactance, and I can also represent like this. So I have another new triangle, and this triangle again has three sides. So you can represent this side as a magnitude of Z, and after that again I am going to project here X and R, and this angle equal to theta. So this figure is called impedance triangle. So the power triangle, if you see the power triangle, so it has basically, let us come to the power triangle. So this is our power triangle. So the power triangle has four items, and that is the complex power, real power, that is P, reactive power, and the power factor angle. So using this four quantity, I can define the power triangle. Now, if I know the any two quantity, other two can be easily obtained from the triangle, because if I know S and theta, I can define P. If I know P and theta, I can define S and any other. So four quantity can be only defined by any two quantity. So due to that reason, people try to draw the power triangle, and after that they are try to relate all kind of powers. Now let us come to the one numerical example related to the complex power. So let us come to the example, because we have already seen that complex power contain all kind of information of power. So now our analysis of this part that is going to complete. So now let us come to the problem. So problem is like this: the voltage across a load is Vt equal to 60 cos omega t minus 10 degree in volt, and current through the element in the direction of the voltage drop in order to maintain sign convention. This kind of statement we have written, that is IT equal to 1.5 cos omega t plus 50 degree ampere. So now I have to find, so first I have to find the complex and apparent powers and then I have to find the real and reactive power and lastly I have to identify the power factor and the load impedance. So let us try to see that how to solve this problem. So I know the voltage drop across the load, I know the current through the load. So in order to proceed towards the solution, first step of the solution is that we are going to represent the current and voltage in form of phasor, and particularly we are representing in terms of RMS value. So I can also write VRMS, that is 60, so magnitude of the voltage divided by √2, and after that I am going to collect the angle, and similarly I can also do same kind of things for the current. So that is IRMS equal to the maximum amplitude by √2 and our phase angle is 50 degree. So directly I have calculated the RMS value. So from RMS value I can calculate the complex power, because VRMS means somehow I am going to represent RMS in the frequency domain or phasor. So I have to calculate the RMS value, and after that I have associate that RMS value with the angle. So I can also define the complex power that I am going to denote by S, that is VRMS, and product of complex conjugate of the IRMS. So by multiplying these two quantity I can get the 60 by √2, and this is 10 degree, and after that I have multiplication of 1.5 by √2, and this is 50 degree, and if you solve this then you will get this 45 and 60 degree, and you know that I am representing the complex power in volt ampere. So due to that reason I have written this unit, and from this I can also calculate the apparent power. So apparent power I am going to denote by S, So that is the magnitude of the complex power. So 45, and again unit remains the same, that is 45 volt ampere. Now I am going to represent the complex power in rectangular form in order to solve the part B, where we have to find the real power and reactive power. So complex power in rectangular form, I can write like this, that is 45, and so here basically this is minus 60, so 60 degree. So and so let us check that I have replaced this by minus 50 or not, because here you can see that I am doing the complex conjugate, so this is minus 50. So now I have S equal to 45 and angle is minus 60. So in rectangular form I can also write like this, 45 cos minus 60 plus J sin minus 60, and if you open this bracket then you are going to get this kind of complex number 97. So from here you can see that I can directly write the expression of the real power, that is 25.5, and real power we are going to represent using unit of watt, and reactive power, that is Q, that is the imaginary part, so that is 38.97, and volt ampere reactive we are writing in order to distinguish between reactive power and the real power. So due to that reason I am going to use that kind of unit. Now I have to calculate the power factor. So that is the cosine of that particular angle, that is angle is minus 60 degree, and that is 0.5, and here this is the leading. So it is leading because the reactive power Q is negative. We have already seen in the B part of this particular problem, and after that I can calculate the load impedance too. So load impedance is Z equal to V by I, so that is 60 minus 10 by 1.5, and this is plus 50 degree. So after solving this complex number I can also again write this as a 40 minus 60 degree, and which is a capacitive impedance. So what we have observed, that this part of the course is basically give the information that how to measure the different notion of the power. So we have quite different notions and their related quantity, and finally I am going to capture each and every quantity by using the notion of complex power. So once you understand the definition, then numerical or calculation of all different power is almost straightforward. So with this discussion I am going to close the today's class. So thank you very much.